Grumpy Snail Podcast, take 2. This thing really is just thrown together. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Grumpy Snail Podcast, where the news is made up, in my opinion, doesn't matter. I'm your host, Jonathan Snyder. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you click the like, share, subscribe to my channel. I upload every Sunday at noon, and sometimes randomly throughout the week I did upload an extra video, so make sure you go check that one out. It's a relatively short 7-minute video, so if you missed that, go and look at it. The merch link is in the description box down below. So, now without the intro out of the way, starting with episode 51 of the podcast, I started a series discussing the Great Reset. If you're viewing this on YouTube, on almost every video from there on, in a little box right below this video, before you even get to the description box, there is a context box with a link to the Great Reset article in Wikipedia. I did not put that box there. YouTube does that. They do that because the Great Reset is on the list of naughty phrases you're not allowed to say. This list includes things like guns, or the pandemic, or vaccine, or COVID, or, you know, anything. I see a lot of even the conservative people that I watch on YouTube that, you know, they do outdoor videos and stuff like that, camping and stuff. They're censoring themselves because they're afraid to say these words, because, you know, any utterance of these words or a combination thereof will cause your video to be demonetized, shadow banned, or labeled with one of those context boxes, or a combination of all of them together. Or maybe your channel will just get a strike or be banned. You know, you get 3 of those, you're gone. Because your First Amendment right is not absolute. Otherwise, you might go screaming woof in a crowded theater, as Nancy Pelosi would say. But today, we're going to cover this context box that's in my video now. YouTube has decided to use Wikipedia as their source. Now, if you're part of my generation, you'll know that Wikipedia, as the site that you're not allowed to use as a source, that's because anyone can edit a Wikipedia article. So it's interesting that YouTube would use this as their source, but, you know, it's whatever, I guess. We'll go with it. Now, I don't expect you to click that link. Hell, most of you can't even sit through my 15-minute video. So why the hell would you click a link and go read a great big encyclopedia type article? But if you do, you will notice that all the things that I talk about in my videos are in that article. The people involved, like Klaus Schwab and John Kerry, the things that they say, how the Great Reset pertains to pandemic and climate change. The main issue reveals itself in a section titled Conspiracy Theories. Usually anyone who discusses this topic is labeled a conspiracy theorist, which is the whole point. But I'm not interested in theories. I'm not interested in nonsense, all the opinionated crap. I'm only interested in facts. For instance, saying a disease called COVID-19 caused the world governments to enact draconian policies is a fact. Those things happened and can be sourced. Saying that a cabal of people known as the World Economic Forum released a virus on to the population so that they could enact draconian policies is a theory. Like I said, I'm not interested in that. It's not provable whether you can infer things or not. There are some people like Alex Jones likes to do these things. Alex Jones is another one of those things that you can't say. You can't say that person's very name. It will get you kicked off your favorite trolling sites. For my research, I had to use... I didn't have to use... For my research, I did use one of his books as a source. This book right here. I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube decided they were going to put like a little censor thing over here and blur out the page and whatnot. But yeah, I did... or I am in the process of reading it, about halfway-ish through. I have used stuff out of this book, but I've only used about 3 pages of worth of information out of it because that's all that's usable. Just because someone is wrong or a bad source doesn't mean that they are entirely incredible. Things are cited in here, so you can research them, or like look and see what's backed up. And it's pretty obvious which crazy paragraphs are all opinion. I mean, so, you know, you can look at the Nazi scientists that America used with Operation Paperclip. You know, America doesn't support Nazis, does it? There's no reason you can't read a book of some crazy person and get a glimpse of a couple facts. They're in there. You just gotta look for them. With these videos, I try to help you understand what the Great Reset is. But the Great Reset, you know, it's just a label. Though the Wikipedia article claims it was drawn up in 2020, it goes way further back than then. There have been many labels under the umbrella of globalism, as Patrick Wood writes about in his book Technocracy Rising. Now, Patrick Wood is an economist by trade, and in his 2016 book, he discusses the idea of technocracy and how the roots of globalism date back to the early 19th century with Auguste Comte. Yeah, if his name is the first name that I butcher, that would be surprising. I got a couple interesting names to pronounce today. Auguste was a French philosopher, generally credited with being the father of modern sociology and considered the first philosopher of science. This quickly gave rise to what's called scientism, professing that science alone is what can answer all questions. Wood writes in his book, quote, "Industrialization was enabled by science, technology, and invention. As knowledge increased, it was surmised that society must change along with it, or at least adapt to it. Progressives called for bigger government, run by qualified managers with diminishing personal liberty and national sovereignty. But they simultaneously fought to reduce waste and increase efficiency in government. The emphasis on efficiency drove many progressives into technocracy, since science appeared to be the only pathway to achieve it." End quote. Alex does cover this part in this book. In this technocracy, scientists and engineers would be in control of society, but without having to contend with the problems of democracy and individual rights. Many groups in history, such as the Nazis, fascists, communists, would adopt many of these principles, but were unwilling to allow the growth of a scientific elite leadership class who would oversee society. You know, the philosophy itself swayed Adolf Hitler, who depended on scientists and engineers to run his Third Reich. You know, we talked about Operation Paperclip. It is best understood as a monopoly on power held jointly together by big businesses and government. They aren't competing against each other; they're together. The moves toward technocracy, however, were relatively unsuccessful in the early 20th century. Later on in the 1970s, with the establishment of the Trilateral Commission, this globalist idea started to take a stronger hold. The Trilateral Commission was started by President Jimmy Carter, and it consisted of 2 other major members, David Rockefeller from the Rockefeller Oil Dynasty, and also chairman of Chase Manhattan Bank. And the next name, Zbigniew Brzezinski, a political scientist from Columbia University, where technocracy developed in the early 1930s. The rise of China from the 1970s to now was an experimental laboratory for this technocratic idea. Wood said, quote, "China looked like North Korea does today. They had no economic system, there was starvation, they had no industry, it was a horrible oppressive culture. However, it was a blank slate to do anything that the Rockefeller crowd wanted done. When Zbigniew Brzezinski got a hold of the Deng Xiaoping, Brzezinski did not teach China about free market economics or capitalism. He taught them about technocracy. That's one reason the ascendance of China has been so dramatic. They have excelled at using that, exploiting it, expanding it, and exporting it to the world. China is a poster child for technocracy. They have preferred surveillance, artificial intelligence, the use of social credit scores to keep their citizens in line, and strong arming the population, forcing them to do whatever they want. If they don't comply willingly, they just start shooting them. And that's basically the story of China and how it came to be where it is today. It's an end quote from Patrick Wood. Technocrats of the Trilateral Commission has operated through all of the U.S. administrations, from Carter all the way up to Biden. Whether Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. I mean, look at Henry Kissinger, who's still somehow alive today. Just influenced, the administrations for over 40 years, even after leaving the White House. By comparison, to the technocrats and the Trilateral Commission, the World Economic Forum is made up of the same type of people, but it has a much broader membership. It has media, it has lawyers, politicians, and CEOs of giant companies. It is the same group as UN, says Wood. Patrick Wood recommends that people do three things. First, recommends that you read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which was written in 1933, the same year that technocracy established itself at Columbia University. Second, go to the World Economic Forum website and read their papers. It's all up there. Everything that they say and believe is up there. Not saying it's bad, not saying it's good. It's just there for you to read. Third, read the work of Israeli academic Yuval Harari, who is a major advisor to Klaus Schwab, who is the chairman of the World Economic Forum. I personally recommend that you go read that Wikipedia article. It states all the things and all the people that pertain to the Great Reset. Hold on a second. It states all these things and people that pertain to Great Reset are conspiracy theories or theorists without actually explaining why they are. It just says these things and puts them under the title of conspiracy. I'm not attempting to persuade you as to whether this is a good or a bad thing. Honestly, there are some positives in globalism. I mean, the China model does have some positives. They want things done. They happen. Some can see positives in that. I just want you to be an informed person. So, I don't need to use the phrase Great Reset. We could just be more general and talk about technocracy or globalism. The point is to discuss the movement and the people that support it and the goals that support it. To do this, I'm using multiple sources, including this Nut Jobs book. My main source will be Glenn Beck's book, definitely labeled under conspiracy theorists. This is his first book, was published last year on this subject. I prefer the way he presents his information, the way he cites his sources again. Don't believe me, don't believe him. Research things yourself. See what these people are saying, doing themselves. I mean, they just say it. I'm just telling you what people are saying. Do your own research. After I finish this book, I will move on to the sequel. Like I said, this one I'm not quite as far away through as this one because, this one has less useful information than this one. Again, everything is cited in his book. This book isn't. I want to show you the second one here in a second. So for this part of this book is all the citations used throughout the book. So there's a lot in there. That's the point. These aren't like fictional works. This is nonfiction cited, basically researched. The sequel to this book is like twice as big. This one, This one was published this year, actually about a couple weeks ago. It was released, and again, the notes section, the cited works are this big. The whole book. So, you know, you can talk about conspiracy theorists, but the sightings are there. After I get through that book, I will also go through Carol Roth's book. Which is about this, you know, about the same as the original Great Reset book by Glenn Beck. It's also was just recently released, I think, a couple weeks ago. So, you know, we'll go through it chapter by chapter. I'll do videos on it as I go through it. And I see a lot of like pictures, not pictures, but graphs and charts and stuff. I'll try to get those up with my videos as well. You know, I like you to see them too. Like I said, as we go, I will keep, you know, I'll do my best to keep the conspiracy nonsense out of it. And just stick to the facts, because that's the point. Who are these people? What do they believe? How do they expect to achieve their goals? But your 15 minutes are up. And the Grumperly ramblings will continue because I'm still drinking. Make sure you tune in next week to, you know, watch the videos. I will also do stuff that's not podcasty. Probably not next week, but the week after. I got some plans coming up. Also, I just found an extra video that's not podcasty that I need to edit and get uploaded. So that's something else that'll break up this deluge of information and podcast nonsense. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. God bless. Cheers. Godspeed.